Okay.
Wow, what an exciting day. Thank all of you for being here with us. First, we would like to thank those who have been involved in this process. President's Office, President Hardesty, his Chief of Staff, Jen Fisher, and his legal counsel, Tom Dorr. The Chairperson of the Board of Governors, Steve Goodwin, thank you. The Chairperson of the Athletic Council, Professor Pete Shaffrin, thank you, Pete. Associate Athletic Director, Mike Parsons. And the players who came by, had discussions with me at my office. Thank you, gentlemen. A gentleman who we walked by the statue today as we came in here, Jerry West. We had continuous advice from Jerry. And a very good friend of the athletic department, who at times like this has always been with us, Mike Pushkar. Mike Carey, Clarksburg, West Virginia. Rich Rodriguez, Granttown, West Virginia. Bobby Huggins, Morgantown, West Virginia. Joe Manchin, Farmington, West Virginia. Gail Manchin, Beckley, West Virginia. It sounds like West Virginia Day. To be with us on this important day, a gentleman who is a WVU grad, who was a WVU student athlete, and right now is providing one of the finest leadership roles that has been experienced by us here in West Virginia. And it's an honor and a pleasure to have our governor, Joe Manchin, come up and be with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me just say, I think all of you know how proud I am to be a West Virginian and how honored I am to be governor of the greatest state in the Union. Every day of my life as a governor, I work very hard to try to keep every person in West Virginia, every young person, of the opportunities that we have in this great state. And I work just as hard to try to bring people back home to West Virginia. I can't tell you how excited I am of this homecoming of our hometown boy coming back to West Virginia. And I'm just as excited as each one of you. I think it's an unbelievable time for West Virginia and the sports and the academics of West Virginia University. So I'm saying that welcome home. Welcome home, Coach. God bless you. Thank you.
A few days ago, I made a phone call to Bobby Huggins. I said, Bobby, are you ready to come home? His reply, absolutely. I've become a tough negotiator. It's, I tell you, it's a privilege and an honor today to introduce to you a gentleman who was a captain on our basketball team years ago, who graduated here magna cum laude. He has won 590 basketball games. He has 20-win seasons, was National Coach of the Year, is a very nice gentleman, and one who we are very proud to have coach our basketball team, Bobby Huggins.
Great to be home. Yesterday was a tough day. You know, I had to leave some great people at Kansas State, and as I said to them, they are the closest thing there is to West Virginians. They are very solid, just great, down-to-earth people, and it was a hard day. And then we flew in here, and I'm kind of struggling a little bit, and then as soon as I put my feet on the ground here and in this great state, I've kind of been walking on air ever since. This has always been a dream for me to coach here. Hopefully I coach better than I played. Don't laugh, buddy. Hopefully you sell cars better than you played. But it's great to be here. My daughter said, you know, Dad, why you love that place so much? Because she grew up in Ohio, and I said, you know, Jen, from the time I can remember, I sat on my grandfather's lap, listening to West Virginia games, and when the game was over, my grandfather always had a hoop for me in the garage, and he'd pull the car out of the garage, and I'd go over and shoot balls in that little hoop over there it was actually right by the coal chute. And then I'd go back across the street to my house. My mother'd be all upset because I was black from the coal dust, and tell my grandfather don't do that anymore. And after every game, I'd go back out and shoot balls and listen to every game. Sat with my grandfather, sat on his lap. My dad was here, played here for a year, ended up transferring to Larson Broaddus, came back, got his master's degree from here. And I was born at Vincent Pallotti Hospital. I almost died there too. That's where I got hit by a car right after I got done playing. So, but as my wife said, you know, anytime I get within 20 miles of Morgantown, my face starts to brighten up, and I start to smile and get happy. And it's just the greatest times of my life here, and I'm just hoping we can have a whole lot more of them. And I want to thank everybody. Dr. Harsty, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and Governor, we're going to represent this great state well. So I appreciate everybody. Eddie and I go back a long, long way. Eddie was all the time trying to keep me in line when I was running around here. Don't laugh. I know he's straightened you guys out a time or two as well. It's so exciting to be here. I can't tell you. I've done this for a long time, and there's nothing like being in here. There's nothing like walking in this building today. So, thanks for letting me come home.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Do I have to? Does anybody have any questions?
How realistic do you think your desire to come back here would be fulfilled someday?
I don't know. You kind of get busy doing your own thing and your own job. And I can tell you this: there wasn't a day went by that I didn't turn on ESPN to see how the Mountaineers did. Um, every time we played a football game, I made sure I watched or had somebody tape it so I could watch. It's just always been a dream. But you kind of get caught up in your own business and trying to do what you're supposed to do.
How long would you like to stay here? Will you be finishing your career here?
I want to stay here as long as I can do what I'm supposed to do, and as long as you people will have me.
I know there's a few players here. Have you had the chance to talk to any of these players yet, or any of the players on the team?
Talked to a few guys on the phone last night, and those that would return my call. No, I talked to, I think, 5 or 6 guys last night.
How were those conversations?
Terrific. With my effervescent personality, why wouldn't they be?
Coach, what was different this time as opposed to the 2002?
No, I've wanted to be here since I was a little kid. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, it's not the right time, and it's hard. It's hard to. It's always been very difficult for me to leave players, and the most difficult thing that I had to do yesterday was tell a bunch of guys who became family that I had to leave. And, I just got a text this morning from one of my guys, back in Kansas. It said, Coach, wish you nothing but the best and success. He happens to be a West Virginian himself, so he understands.
Coach, have you given any thoughts yet as far as staff and so forth and so on?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, the guys that I have, I had terrific guys out there. Where they end up going with their career, I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out.
Coach, do you hope to try to, you mentioned some of those players that you got close to in your last place, do you hope to try to get any of them to come here?
No, no. I think we have one scholarship, and I watch these guys play. So I love basketball, but 2, I love West Virginia basketball. So, and I've seen most of the guys play in the summer. So.
Yeah, you said you talked to your players. What about your recruits? I know it was a pretty heralded recruiting class you had at Kansas State.
Well, I've talked to them. I haven't talked to them in the last couple of days. I wish them the best, as they wish me the best.
Bob, Jerry West strongly in cultural candidate. Could you just talk about Jerry a little bit, what kind of relationship you guys have and how long that goes back, that sort of thing?
I was telling somebody the other day, it's hard to explain what it means to be a West Virginian. I think one, and to go to school here, and then on top of that play basketball here. It's an unbelievable fraternity. And Jerry's been unbelievable to me from the time I was at the University of Akron, the first time I ever met him. I'm standing, and the Final Four is in Dallas, and I'm standing there taking it all in. I'm 30 years old, kind of in awe of everything that's going on. And some guy with these big long arms, puts his arm around me, and I turn around, I about fainted. It was Jerry, and I'd met Jerry while I was here a time or two, but and stood and talked for about as long as Jerry can talk without being surrounded by people. And I mean, he's one of the most famous athletes in the world, the most recognizable athletes in the world. And we were standing talking, and all of a sudden there's just a whole group of people trying to get at him. And he said, "Here's my ticket number. This is where I'm sitting. Come inside, we'll talk." And he's been phenomenal to me. I had the opportunity to go to the NBA a few times, and the first guy I called was Jerry to ask his advice and what he thought about situations. So.
Coach, last season there were 59 coaching changes in college basketball, and I'm assuming probably somewhere along that same lines again this year. Is this just a sign of the times of college basketball these days, or is this something maybe that like a coaches association might want to look into, or is this just a sign of the times of today's world?
Well, I think it's a sign. It's not. Athletics is a microcosm of society, and what we we get a lot more attention than other segments of society, but there's changes in society everywhere all the time. A few days ago, actually was talking to my former president at Kansas State, and he was saying how important athletics are to not just universities, but to our society in general. And we started talking, the reality is, if you look at any great civilization, if you go back in history and look at any great civilization, athletes and athletics have always been important. That's why they built that big Colosseum in Rome, and that's why they had statues. The Greeks had statues to the people who threw the furthest, ran the fastest. It's just, for whatever reason, human beings have this tremendous fascination for guys that are athletic. I can remember Doc Gwynn sitting probably, I don't know, Eddie, those the same baskets, but Doc was sitting over there, and I went over and I asked him, I said, when Jerry was here, how good was Jerry? He said the first day Jerry walked on the floor, you could see he wasn't like everybody else. He said, he's running this way, and they throw the ball over here, and he still reaches back and catches it and just keeps on going like nothing happened. And Jerry was a great basketball player, but a great athlete. And that's our society. But it's not just our society. That's history.
Bob, you didn't get a chance to coach in the Big East in 2005 when it looked like maybe you were going to. How excited are you to get the opportunity to go against the Calhouns and the Boeheims and those types of people?
Well, I kind of tell you the same. I walked out of the Big 12 meetings, and a guy asked me kind of the same question. Isn't it a little bit kind of intimidating or whatever? You're sitting there, and Coach Knight was to my right, and Bill Self's here, and Billy Gillespie sitting across the table. I said, but you have to understand, I was in the Big East meetings, and I was sitting beside Rick Pitino was on my left, Jim Boeheim was on my right, and straight across from me was Jim Calhoun. And then I looked around, and there's John Beilein and all the other great coaches in the Big East. And it's a great challenge. It's fun. I used to say, if it came down to, they used to say, how would you fare against Coach Knight? And I used to say, I'd kill him. I mean, I'm younger. I was a better player than he was. But it never came down to that. It came down to his guys against my guys. So I'm looking forward to being here. I wouldn't care if we were still playing in the Southern Conference, quite frankly. I just love being in West Virginia.
Moments from your career that stand out from one another?
Well, I got to be honest with you. It's kind of fun to walk in, play in the Final Four, and have 60-some thousand people there. That's kind of fun. It was actually the second round game we played Kentucky a couple years ago. I think there were 43,000 people there. That's the largest second round game in the history of the NCAA tournament. That's kind of fun. I like going to practice. I like teaching. I like doing what we do. I like watching guys grow up and get better. And the world was a simpler place when you didn't have text messages. And I've got about 150 of them, I think. Now I hope that's all that the phone holds. But it's fun when you get text messages from Nick Van Exel and the guys that I've had years and years ago that still care. And that's the great thing about being called coach is the interaction you have with young people and getting to watch them grow up and mature and go on and be successful in their lives. You can't imagine what that's like until you actually do that and experience that. And it's family. The thing I remember the most was Maurice and I were walking out, I guess right over there, and Notre Dame was in here, and they had a big boom box out here, and they were all out stretching, and they were pretty good. And Digger was coaching at Notre Dame at that time, and Mo and I stopped over there and we kind of watched them stretch. I don't know why. It didn't really do much for me, but I've just kind of watching them. And Digger walked over to us and said, we're going to whip you tomorrow, boys. And we didn't say anything. We just went up the stairs and went over towers and came over the next day. And I always came in early and shot. And I walked in like I always did, an hour and a half early. And generally there wasn't anybody in here. And half of the Coliseum was full. See, the students broke the doors down. I went right through the doors and came in. Steve, you remember that? And they were all in here an hour and a half before the game. And we played pretty well. And we're up, I don't know, 16, 17 with a minute something to go. And I remember Maurice walking over to Digger, and Digger was standing up yelling and screaming, and Mo walked over and said, "We beat your ass today, boy." I thought that was pretty good.
Who will your biggest rival be?
I don't. Who will it be? I don't know. I know this: you have to win to have a rivalry. When I was at Cincinnati, we won so much we were everybody's rival. If we went to Charlotte, we were their rival. We went to Louisville, we were their rival. That's where we want to get to. We want to get to we really don't care, but they really care about us. That's when it's kind of fun. It's it's an amazing thing. In 1992 we played Indiana, and I had a pretty good team, and they had a heck of a team. Actually, we both went to the Final Four, and we played really well early, and they played really well in the second half, and they beat us, I don't know, 9 or 10, whatever. And I'll never forget, Coach Knight came over, and Coach is really good. I mean, he really gives you a lot of advice after he wins. Now, when he loses, he kind of shakes your hand and he's not real talkative, but he won and we lost, and he gets a hold of you, and you can't hardly get away without making a scene. And so he's got a hold of you, and he's telling me that this was really unfair to your guys. And I said, Coach, I don't understand. He said, well, everywhere we go is sold out. Everywhere we go, playing Indiana is the highlight of the schedule. And he said, your guys aren't used to that. And I thought, okay. So as things went, all of a sudden we became, everywhere we went was a sellout because everybody wanted to see us. And I can remember the first sellout we had at Cincinnati. They didn't sell out. First time we played Louisville, and they said to me, this is great. You got a sellout. People came to see you play. Sold it out. I said, no, they came to see Louisville play. When they start coming to see us play and sell it out, that's when you got it going. And we went to the Final Four, and then the next year we were pretty good again. And we were playing Chicago State. I'll never forget. They had suspended their 5 starters for something, and we were going to win by 40 anyways. and they sold the place out, we're scalping tickets outside. That's when you know you're pretty good and you've arrived. So that's kind of where we're going to get to here. You know, I was thinking what a wonderful thing it'd be if you drove through this great state and everybody had a flag. Everybody flew a flag. You know, everybody showed their support of this great state and this great university, and you know, everywhere you go, anywhere in the state, everybody's got a flag hanging out on the porch. What a wonderful thing. And there isn't any reason why we can't do that. We should do that. It's great pride here. I can't remember whether I was playing here or I was a GA here, and one of the football coaches came up who was a West Virginian and a great guy, and he came up and he put his arm around me and he said, "Hugs, just remember this: the greatest resource the state of West Virginia isn't coal. The greatest resource is people. The greatest people in the world." And I've never forgot that, and I've always believed that.
How would you describe your style of play?
Well, sometimes I like watching this, and sometimes I don't. Generally, we play a little faster. I think we had a hard time this year. Honestly, it's not a lot of fun. You know, this past year was hard because we knew if the other team got to 70, we were going to lose because we just couldn't score over 70, and that's hard. And I like to play faster. You know, I like to score. And you know, you have to guard and you have to do all those things, but you got to score the ball. And I think if you look, generally speaking, we're the leading scorer in the league or the second leading scoring team in the league. I like to play a little faster, score. I like to watch them score. I like to see the ball go in. Just to me, it's a better game when that happens.
Follow-up to that question. Players on this team were kind of recruited to a very distinct style that John Beeline had. How do you think they'll fit into your style of play?
Well, as I said in an interview earlier today, I'm a big John Beeline fan. He's a really good coach, and when you coach guys good and you coach the fundamentals and they understand fundamentals, and they can pass and they can shoot and they can dribble and they can pivot and they can stop and they can start. You can do a lot of things, and I know these guys have been very well schooled by a great coach and very fundamentally sound. So I think we could probably ask them to do pretty much anything, and they could go out and do that. I think we could take 5 minutes and say, let's put in the flex, and I think they could probably figure that out. That's the great thing about our game is it becomes a very complex thing, but it's one very simple thing to the next, to the next, to the next in a very rapid succession, which kind of makes it complex. But if you can't do those little things first, then it's very hard to do anything very complex. And I know that these guys have been very well schooled in the little things.
Coach, you had mentioned earlier that there's not a lot of roster spots to fill. Does that make things easier for you to get the ball rolling, so to speak?
Depends on how good the guys in those roster spots are. My first Division I job, I went to the University of Akron, and we had 15 scholarships, and we had 14 back, and everybody said that's bad. Sometimes it's great. No, I think. Again, I think these guys have been very well coached, and they're good players. So naturally, it's going to make it easier. If I don't screw it up, they should be fine.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about your recruiting philosophy and also getting players to Morgantown?
Well, you try to recruit guys that one fit in. I like to recruit guys that have, we call it in the business, have motors. And guys that don't have motors are hard to coach. Those guys you have to fight with all the time to get to play. And when you're fighting with them, trying to get them to play, it's hard to coach them. So it's a lot more fun, guys that have motors, guys that come in every day with some enthusiasm and are kind of excited about coming to practice. Those guys that say, "Shit, man, practice, man, we got practice in a half an hour." Those guys aren't a lot of fun. Now, some of them are pretty good, but they're not a lot of fun to coach. So I'm 53 and a half now, man. I'm not 30 anymore, and I didn't mind going out there and fighting with them when I was 30. Now I just kind of want to go out there and coach and have them enjoy it and me enjoy it. And I don't think getting people to come to Morgantown's going to be hard at all. I mean, I think sometimes people, we have these inferiority complexes that we don't have any reason to have. This is a wonderful state with wonderful people, and who wouldn't want to be part of that? And that's what will sell.
Bob, how have you changed since you had your heart attack and dealt with some of the other off-the-floor issues you've gone through?
Well, you get old, you know. You get old. As you get older, hopefully you get smarter from the experiences that you have. Honestly, if you'd probably asked my guys, when I got back from the heart attack, you know, I probably wasn't a whole lot different than I was before. See, if you don't bring enthusiasm to what you do, what good are you? And if it had come to the point after my heart attack, I couldn't bring enthusiasm to what I did, and I couldn't be enthusiastic about it, I wouldn't be doing it now. Sir.
You mentioned your staff before. Would you talk about a potential timeline for you of getting that all settled?
I don't know. I went to Kansas State. I didn't totally fill my staff for about 3 months. This month is important. The weekends in this month, because you can go see underclassmen, and you can, then you can kind of try to figure out which direction you're going to go with certain guys and guys you like more than others and so forth. But we have one available scholarship, so we'll be fine. I don't think it's that. I don't think we have to run out and hire some people just to hire them, just to get somebody in here.
Coach, how much are you looking forward to that season opener next year, to coming in here and being back in the building for a game and walking out with the boys and coach?
I have a hard time not crying. I mean that sincerely. When I walk out here, I walked in here today, I had a hard time. I was kind of fighting back tears a little bit. It's this place has meant so much to me, and this state and these people have meant so much to me in my life, and I learned so much here. I grew up so much here that not for me not to be emotional is probably not realistic. I'm probably going to be. I'll probably have a towel, so I can hide a little bit so you don't see how bad it is.
I know your parents.
I don't want them to think I'm soft. Because I'm not soft.
I know your family's not too far away. Do you expect to see them in a lot of games?
I hope so. Yeah. My dad came to a lot. My dad loves West Virginia now. My dad's a West Virginian now. Grew up right out here in Doug Hill, right outside of Saberton, and watches every game on TV. If you can't watch it, he tapes it so he can come home and watch it later. And he came to a bunch of games this year. That came to more of your games than he came to mine, actually. But, yeah, I mean, my brother who played at Ohio State is a season ticket holder here, and he lives in Columbus, Ohio. That kind of gives you an idea about how important this university's been in our family.
To go back a couple of questions to the question about your heart attack, do you want to reassure the fans about the state of your health today?
Don't I look good?
You look good.
What's wrong with the way I look? No, I'm doing fine. I mean, I'm like most of us. I could stand to lose a couple pounds, but I'm doing great.
Coach, do you take a different approach to this job because you have so many roots here?
A different approach.
I mean, just philosophically or anything.
So I don't know what y'all think we do, but we come in here for 3 hours every day, and we work, man. I mean, it's work. It's fun, but it's work. And then when that's over with, it's over with. And I get along with guys because we have relationships. And if I get mad at them out here, which probably I'm going to do a time or two, I'm not mad at them when they walk off the floor because it's not personal, you know. I think the guys in our business that struggle are guys that can't separate between what goes on here and then walking off the floor, and they're still mad at them because they played bad. Most guys don't try to. Actually, if they try to play pretty good, sometimes you don't. But it's got to be fun. You got to have some fun with it. Now, in saying that, it's hard work. It's really hard work. But as I've told every team that I've ever had, I went to Kansas State last year in my first team meeting. I said, we're going to win. Now, I don't know a whole bunch, but I know that. I know we're going to win. I don't know how yet, but we're going to win. And they bought in. Took a while, but they bought in. These guys already know how to win. They've already won. So, see, to me, life is about you continue to kind of bump up your comfort zone. How comfortable are you? I don't mean disrespect, but I went to NIT this year. I'm not very comfortable with that. That kind of motivates me. I want to be playing on Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, and I want to be playing last weekend. That's fun. I mean, that's a lot of fun. So I mean, that's where we want to get to, and I don't want them to be comfortable unless that's what they're thinking we ought to do. Now, do you do it all the time? No, but that's what you ought to try to do.
After you answered absolutely to Eddie, what kind of questions did you have about this program, or did you feel like you knew so much about WVU, Bob, that you...
Eddie and I probably had the shortest negotiation in the history of, and Eddie's always been sly. I'm 53 now, and I had corrective surgery done so I could see far away. Well, now I can't read. And Eddie wouldn't give me his readers, so I had no idea what I was signing. Eddie said, it'll be fine, just sign here.
Coach, everywhere you go, you're known as a great recruiter. What will you sell the top athletes on to get them to Morgantown?
We're going to win. I think that's what everybody wants to do. We're going to win. We're going to win big. And I've had, I think it's 16 guys. I think it's over my career. I think it's 16 guys played in the NBA. And for that reason, I think guys think that I can help them get to the NBA. Now, the truth of the matter is they do it because they have to do the work. Everybody says, what you did with Kenyon Martin. Well, what I did with Kenyon Martin was open the doors to the gym, and Kenyon went in there and worked. And we opened the doors to the weight room, and Kenyon went in there and worked. When he came in, he was about 184 pounds. He left at 240 pounds. When he came in, he could shoot it about 3 feet. That might be too much. 1.5 feet. And then when he left, he's out shooting threes and that. But I didn't do that. I mean, I kind of tried to help him straighten out his jump shot. It wasn't picturesque when he came in, but he did all the work. Opportunity, I think. You want to know what we sell them? We sell them opportunity. Opportunity to do and be what it is you want to do and be. And surrounded by the greatest people in the world. How's it getting better? It's my pleasure. Hopefully I said something that makes some sense. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But you all do this now. When you go home tonight, get down on your hands and knees, thank the good Lord for another day, and pray for the Mountaineers. Because I know a lot of you in here, because we could use the help, and those of you that I know pretty well sure could use the practice. Thanks.